In July 2011, President Barack Obama signed Executive Order 13581. This action placed the Japanese Yakuza on the same tier of transnational criminal threats as Mexico's Los Zetas cartels and the Italian Camorra. Treasury's Office of Foreign Assets Control spent the next several years building a target roster. They named the largest traditional syndicates, including the Yamaguchi-gumi, its godfather Kenichi Shinoda, and a collection of key lieutenants. The final update to this sanctions list landed in October 2018. Treasury designated 2 real estate firms in Kobe that owned the land sitting underneath the syndicate's corporate headquarters. Since 2018, the Yakuza file has not grown. It operates as a perfectly frozen photograph of a 2012 underworld, heavily populated by men with lapel pins, formal business cards, and physical office buildings. The rigid organizations Washington targeted are dissolving into structural irrelevance. Consider the population of traditional syndicate members in Japan over the last 2 decades. Total members fell to 17,600 by 2025, with full Boryokudan hitting a record low of 9,400. This collapse was driven by an aging membership and strict exclusion ordinances that blocked the gangs from opening bank accounts or signing leases. Today, the American sanctions list targets a formal corporate syndicate structure that Japanese domestic law has already largely dismantled. The criminal energy in Japan shifted into a void the sanctions list cannot see. In 2024, the National Police Agency formally labeled this new model tokuryū, meaning anonymous and fluid criminal groups. Recruitment for tokuryū networks begins on social platforms like X. Operators post dark, part-time job ads called Yami Baito, pulling respondents into encrypted messaging apps like Telegram and Signal to receive their instructions. This graphic illustrates the disposable pyramid structure. Masterminds sit at the apex, ringleaders below, and a wide base of street-level recruits act as ATM mules. Engineered for absolute deniability, the bottom assumes all physical risk and prison time, while the insulated top takes the proceeds. Tokuryū networks lack crests, fixed memberships, or lines of succession. They assemble disposable, gig economy labor for a single job, dissolve, and reassemble entirely new teams for the next operation. In 2025, combined losses from special fraud, social media investment scams, and romance fraud in Japan hit a record $2.1 billion. Nearly 40% of those social media cases utilized cryptocurrency. The masterminds engineering this financial drain rarely surface in Japan. The operations are increasingly run from outside the country. In a highly publicized series of fatal home invasions in Tokyo, the leader, calling himself Luffy, issued direct orders to his disposable street teams over Telegram from inside a jail cell in the Philippines. Further north, Japanese authorities recently extradited and arrested 29 of their own nationals. They had been executing cyber scams while living inside an enclosed compound in Cambodia. Japanese organized crime has migrated. It transitioned from a domestic enterprise reliant on localized extortion into a borderless, cyber-enabled network operating across Southeast Asia. The standard defense is that sanctions require a rigid target, that you cannot freeze a fluid, stateless cyber network. But the U.S. Treasury has already proven that assumption wrong in the Mekong region. In October 2025, the Treasury designated Cambodia's Prince Group a transnational criminal organization. That same day, they used Section 311 of the Patriot Act to cut off the Hyone Group, a conglomerate that laundered billions in cyber heist proceeds. These actions did not stop at shell companies. Treasury designated 4 specific Bitcoin addresses, freezing the digital wallets themselves, supported by new executive orders tailored specifically for cyber-enabled fraud. Washington has successfully constructed a modern financial architecture capable of attacking the exact infrastructure, payment processors, casinos, and crypto rails that anonymous cybercriminals rely upon. Yet a severe intelligence gap remains. The Treasury's highly active campaign against Southeast Asian cybercrime is completely disconnected from its file on Japanese organized crime. The victim pools overlap directly. The same Cambodian scam compounds defrauding American citizens are simultaneously defrauding Japanese citizens. When American and Japanese authorities coordinate on these cases today, they operate exclusively through the Southeast Asia program. The Yakuza sanctions file is bypassed entirely. A borderless criminal economy moves billions across Asia, while the specific bureaucratic file created to track Japanese syndicates remains frozen in 2018. The OFAC Yakuza list correctly documents the bosses and front companies of a world that began disappearing 15 years ago. But as a tool for modern intelligence, the monument is simply pointing at an empty street.